listening to the Marketing Personalities Podcast, a podcast for growth-minded entrepreneurs that serves up valuable insight and interviews about aligning your marketing strategy with your personality type. Because here's the deal. You shouldn't have to feel fake and salesy in order to grow your business. And you no longer have to. Your marketing strategy can feel good to implement and it can work. You can attract the right clients and customers to your business and grow your profits, all while staying true to who you naturally are. So in the name of honest business growth, bring your unique talents, perspectives, and personality to the table. And join us on this week's podcast episode to discover marketing that feels good for you. Welcome back to the Marketing Personalities Podcast. I'm Brit Kolo, and today we are going to deep dive into this tribe of personalities called the Diplomats. Just a few weeks ago, we talked with Rachel East about this tribe, the Diplomats, but this time I'm coming on solo, and I want to deep dive into the 4 personality types that are within the Diplomat tribe. That is the INFJ, INFP, ENFJ, and ENFP. We got a really great overview and good back and forth discussion with Rachel a couple weeks ago. And now I want to go deeper. I want to talk about each of these personality types and give you an even deeper look into who these humans are that present as these types. And I want to do this type of episode for all of the types. We're going to have different interviews with people specifically on their one type, and you'll start hearing those over time. And I want to get on the mic solo more often and give you a peek from this unbiased perspective that I'm trying to bring here, okay? So we're going to get that personal look from those interviews, and then we'll also get the more unbiased, more kind of like this is how it presents from me solo on the mic. And from all of that, you can start pulling bits and pieces of knowledge and wisdom out of it. That's my hope. So that's what this episode is. Just me. I'm going to give you a rundown of this Diplomat tribe and then pull out each of the 4 personality types and tell you even more about them. Okay? So, Diplomats. All right. Here's just an overview, kind of a review of what Rachel and I got to speak about a couple weeks ago. There are a few things that make a diplomat, and it's related to their 2 shared letters or preferences, and those letters are the N and the F. N standing for intuitive and F standing for feeler. So the intuitive feelers, that's who we're talking about today. And when we combine intuitive and feeler together, we get a diplomat who is mission driven. They are able to get behind any mission they truly believe in. And for them, sharing is caring. They are natural sharers of a message in their own way. You know, there are 4 different types within this tribe. So they're all going to share their message in different ways, but they have a message and they'll share it pretty naturally. When they find something good, they're happy to and skilled at sharing it with others, again, in their own way. And I'm going to dive into those different unique ways in just a second. And because they're mission driven, they have to start with why. The other tribes, they start somewhere else. That's cool. But with this tribe, they have to start with why. They're really willing to try anything as long as they can clearly identify the why behind it. If the why is at all fuzzy, or even if they started with the why and then somewhere along the way have gotten away from that driving force of that why and that mission, they can feel so uncomfortable. And not only uncomfortable, they can also just lose interest. They're just like, I'm not going to put my energy here anymore because I don't understand why I'm doing it. And it can often feel like a waste of time for them. And with this intuitive feeler mashup. These people love to dig in deeper. And I giggle because I know a lot of diplomats. I am one. And I tend to have these intuitive feelers in my life. I think we attract each other because we like to go to the same interesting places and conversations. And so we just naturally attract one another. And yeah, diplomats, they love to dig in deeper, and they're usually thinking, especially when time or space is limited, they might get a little antsy, feeling like, man, there's just so much more I could do, more I could dive into, more I could help out with, more I could like discuss and think about and learn. There's just always more from their perspective. And in a healthy diplomat, they're so excited. They love the fact that there's more. That doesn't overwhelm them. They're just so enthralled by all the deep places that they can go with their intuition and their feelings and their life in general. And then sometimes, we're not always healthy, right? And so sometimes an unhealthy diplomat, an unhealthy intuitive feeler can get a little overwhelmed with the fact that there's always more to the story. And sometimes that can feel a little heavy. But I found that intuitive feelers are some of the best conversationalists and can find great healing and great relief from that heaviness of like, there's always more when they get to either speak or write or formulate their thoughts in some way to make sense of them. And that comes back to the fact that these diplomats tend to be really great sharers of a message, whatever their message, vision, mission might be. They're great at sharing it. They do it in different ways, but they're great at sharing that. Now, let's look specifically at the INFJ. I have a lot of INFJs around me, and I tend to have a lot of INFJs in my audience. Really, I say that, but that really goes across this entire tribe. INFJs, INFPs, ENFJs, and ENFPs. I have them more so in my audience than any of the other tribes, any of the other personalities. Of course, I can sit here and imagine why that might be, and I'm sure that it's many things. Off the top of my head, I think because I am an intuitive feeler, I think people who are also intuitive feelers, they are attracted to what I do, how I explain things, the places I will go in my conversations, my writing, whatever. They're ready to go there with me because they're at least on some level kind of like on the same page and willing to go there with me. Whereas maybe other types from other tribes, we might miss a mark here or there. So these intuitive feelers, they might be in my audience because of me. I also think the entrepreneurial space that I'm in tends to have a lot of intuitive feelers because for a long time, my entrepreneurial network had a lot of coaches, consultants, people in there helping with things and guiding. And that's really a mark of the intuitive feeler, that guide mentality, not the commander or the how-to person, but more like, hey, can we come alongside each other and work through this together? That's very much the healthy diplomat angle to any conversation. Let's just get next to each other and take a step forward together. And I have a lot of those people around me for sure. So that might be why, since I have a lot of coaches, consultants, those types of things in my network already, they so much tend to be intuitive feelers and therefore have a lot of intuitive feelers. Also, another factor, and this this could be a whole other episode and maybe it will be at some point, but our society, when it comes to these two things I keep saying, intuition and feeling, those two things in our society right now, and I think how most of us have been raised, those two things tend to be more accepted in the female human and less accepted in the male. I'm not here to say that's right or wrong. That's not at all what I'm trying to get across. I'm just stating that I sense that that's kind of the way society works. Intuition feels like a feminine energy type of thing. And so as you're growing up as a female, listening to your intuition might make more sense, be given to you a little bit more than if you grew up male. I don't know. And then also when it comes to feeling, I think it's no surprise. I think we all know this. Feelings are a bit more accepted if you're a female and a bit less accepted if you're a male. And so when that happens in society, again, I don't know if that's right or wrong. I'm not here to judge that. But when that's happening in society, I think we have a better chance, I don't know, a higher probability that females will show up as intuitive feelers and a lesser probability that males would show up as intuitive feelers. And I do see that, right? So my audience is mostly female at this point, and maybe that's why I have a significant amount of intuitive feelers. I don't know. Now, is that to say males aren't intuitive feelers? Not at all. I have males in my audience who are intuitive feelers. It just doesn't seem as common. I don't know what the actual percentages are. I can't say that. I'm just kind of speculating on, okay, why does it seem like a lot of us that we, if you're in my audience, you probably have picked up on this a little bit, that we do seem to be in this diplomat tribe. So those are just some like three kind of off the top of my head. These things are going on, and maybe that explains why there seems to be so many of us here in this one little space. And then what I find super fun about this is the moment that you step out of your little bubble in the world, and we're all living in our own little bubbles, even when you try to go outside of your bubble, you still have a bubble that you kind of are in. I think, I don't know, like we can only take in so much. So we live in these little bubbles and they shift and change over time. What's so fascinating to me is when you do shift and change, and you might like kind of step out of your usual network and go into a new network, it's really fascinating how while our worlds might be heavily saturated with diplomats, just a slightly different world is heavily not saturated with diplomats. And maybe they're more analysts, or maybe they're more sentinels or explorers, whatever. It's just really fascinating to me how different industries, different types tend to, gravitate toward each other in different industries. Super fascinating. So, all right, all that to say, hey, if you're a diplomat, which the probability says that you are, cool. And there's also about 50% of my audience, as far as I know right now, who are not diplomats. So that's fine. That's cool. I hope that you get to learn some stuff about this tribe. Today, I've been sharing this on my Instagram and just pretty relentlessly, because this podcast isn't, it's okay if you just tap into the episodes that are about your tribe and your personality type. That's fine. It's also a really great place to come and learn about other types of humans around you. And that can be so much fun. I find that it can breed such compassion and empathy and love toward other human beings. And so whether you're a diplomat or not, whether you're an intuitive feeler or not, you get to come to the table, learn a little bit about this tribe, get to connect some of the dots that might have felt just kind of out there and unable to be connected to. Maybe this could connect some dots for you and guide you down the path to understanding, knowledge, compassion, empathy, those things that we all need, right? So in true diplomat form, there we go to the philosophical stuff, right? So like I said, diplomats, these intuitive feelers, we love to go deeper. And we often have that philosophical purpose behind our work and the way we live our lives. When we lose that, or if it's hard to connect that deeper why, that deeper mission, like I just did with this podcast, it doesn't necessarily feel worth it. I can definitely say that that's true for me, being that, yeah, hey, I'm in this tribe. So, all right, let's talk about the first of the four here quickly. So, the first of the four in this tribe is the INFJ. So, the INFJ is termed the advocate, and they tend to be, as 16 Personalities puts it, quiet and mystical, yet inspiring and a tireless idealist. Okay. These INFJs, they tend to find flow during time spent alone, right? They're introverts and in deep thought and deep work. And so, because of this, if you're an INFJ, you are skilled at connecting the dots between abstract ideas because your mind naturally goes there. And when given enough time and space to ponder and work through those abstract ideas, you're flowing. I mean, you are in it. You might even have kind of like that little dazed thing going on in your eyes when you really can get into that flow. It feels so good. And if ever you're feeling like you're skimming the surface on a topic, that's not a comfortable thing for you. Skimming, just getting like the bare minimum of something, it'll suffice for a little while, but often you'll crave that need to go deeper and get more out of whatever you're working through. And so if that's happening, here's my best advice. Consider blocking out a solid chunk of time and space to focus on that topic or area in your life that has felt like you're just kind of skimming the surface on. You'll find flow and freedom in that space that you've created. You need depth and breadth here. And so carve that out for yourself and give yourself permission to work through that in the deeper ways that you're craving. Okay. And as an INFJ, your power is really realized when you walk someone through your thought process, because your thought process is often a deeper way to look at things than the way others around you are looking at something. And you typically understand the world around you in a deep, intuitive way. So your perspective on things, because it's often so well-rounded and thorough and true, like just that deep, knowingly true, regardless of what has been accepted as quote unquote normal in the past, that perspective is so powerful and valuable to the people that you serve. So that's really where your power lies. And then the magic sauce, if you will, that comes in here is illuminating that thought process and guiding, no matter who the person is, guiding that person to go there with you and illuminating the connecting points along the way. You do tend to kind of create those mind-blowing moments, right? Like it's just like, that brain just like on fire. Wow, you've really thought about this thing. Yeah, you have. So that's the INFJ. Now, as with all the information that I'm giving you right here is also in written word on my website. So if you haven't yet visited marketingpersonalities.com, it's super simple. You go to that URL, marketingpersonalities.com, you click on your personality type, and you're told some of this stuff that I'm giving you right here. This is all in writing on the website, especially if you're someone who obviously you like to listen to audio, but if you really also like to consume information in the written word, it's right there on the page. You can work through it with a fine-tooth comb, understand it better. And then through that, right there on that page, you'll also find what your best marketing strategy is, what your worst marketing strategy is. Like it's all there. Okay. So remember that it's all there. You don't have to wait for me to like spill the beans here on the podcast. Right? So you're going to always go there and get more. But for the INFJ, their best marketing strategy includes an opportunity to share long form content. Okay. Why does that make sense from all that we've just said? They love to go deeper and they need the time and space to go deeper and share in their long form ways. Remember back to my conversation with Rachel East. We kind of laughed about it because it is kind of a known joke that she can't write a short blog post. Like that is not how it works for her or her co-founder, Kristen, because she's also an INFJ. They do the long, long blog posts, and that's the way that they have to do it because they've got so much in there that they need to share and connect dots for. So long form content is key for the INFJ. Now, just like with every personality type, there's always, along with the best marketing strategy that I create for you, or not create for you, but share with you, both here on the podcast and on the website, within the marketing personality type full reports, all of that. Of course, I share the best marketing strategy. And what I've found is every single personality type has a common sticking point. It's like you get your best marketing strategy and it's like all feeling true. And then something happens where it's like, yeah, but I'm still kind of stuck here. And I've worked with enough people, I've spoken with enough people to identify where those common sticking points are for each of the 16 personality types. And I go into those sticking points in the marketing personality type full reports that you've heard about already, right? I go into those sticking points and I give you advice to get out of that. I give you advice to get unstuck. Okay. For the INFJ, with this long form content, that makes sense to them. They're like, yep, that feels right. Yes, yes, yes. And then they tend to get stuck on identifying what format that content should be in. If you're an INFJ right now, you're probably like, oh my gosh, how did you know that? Like I said, I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of them being INFJs, and I see it happen all the time. They're like, yeah, long form content. Yes, yes, yes. But now, wait a second. Do I write it? Do I have a podcast? Should I do video? It's the format piece that trips you up. And I dig into my advice on how to get through that in your full report. Okay. So if that is kind of where you've gotten here, you're like, oh yeah, that is where I'm stuck. It's in the full report. I want you to go to marketingpersonalities.com and grab that for yourself. Okay. All right. So INFJs, hey, thanks for being around. I love you guys. Now we're going to talk about INFPs. Also have a ton of you around my world, which is so much fun. So my INFPs, you are termed the mediator, and you tend to be poetic, kind, altruistic, and always eager to help a good cause. Yes, I know specific INFPs in my mind right now, and I'm like, that is just so true. So true. INFPs find flow when they're doing work that matters to them and to the people around them. It's not just what matters to me is what matters. It's more of like what matters to me and what matters to you. Let's blend those two things together and have everyone prosper. And they have a tendency, these INFPs have a tendency to love writing and written expression, I have found. Not necessarily writing for a purpose other than to simply express what's going on in their deep, deep, amazing places that their minds and souls and bodies can go. And INFPs, they are true givers and sharers of all good things. And I recommend to INFPs, as they're providing for the people around them, and if you're an INFP, this is my love note to you. As you're providing for people around you, remember and realize the nuggets of wisdom you have right within yourself, and share those too. There's so much in there. Share that with us. Please share that with us because it's incredible. Now, INFPs, your power is realized when you immerse yourself in a cause bigger than yourself. And you easily, effortlessly give your best energy to that cause. It's an amazing thing to watch an INFP do this, because when those around you can see and feel the energy you bring to the cause that's so much bigger than yourself, it inspires and empowers and catalyzes all the rest of us to take action too. It's this super cool ripple effect that these INFPs are so great at creating. And because of this, INFPs, for their best marketing strategy, it includes pairing their business effort with a charity, a relief, or a giving back effort. Now, said in another way, because sometimes that sparks some red flags. Sparks? I don't know. Puts up some red flags. Said in another way, INFPs find ways to share the wealth openly based on a cause that they care deeply about. Okay. They are motivated to give their best efforts when they know that the work they're doing is truly deeply needed. So, just like every other personality type, they have a sticking point as well. And for INFPs, I find that it can sometimes be hard to get past the fact that I just said the word charity. Especially if you are in a place in your business where, I mean, it's working, but you're not necessarily making a great deal of profit where you feel comfortable in donating money, right? And that's often where our mind goes to here in America when we hear charity. And I answer this in more detail in your full report, INFPs. But if that is where you get stuck, please try to remember that when I say pairing your business effort with a charity, relief, or giving back effort, what I mean is pair your business effort with something that feels like you're sharing the wealth openly. Okay. This could be through, yes, it could be through donating funds, but it doesn't have to be monetary. It could be through volunteer work, giving back, offering pro bono work, providing a scholarship, hosting a giveaway. They are so popular on Instagram these days. I won one back around Christmas time. It was amazing. So there are so many ways to share the wealth other than donating money. And so I encourage you to use your creative big brain, big heart, really. I mean, let's be honest, these INFPs, huge hearts in these people. Use your big heart to imagine what that could look like for you. All right, ENFJs, my protagonists. And they're my fellow ENFJs because at this point you probably have picked up on the fact that I am an ENFJ. So ENFJs, the protagonist, they tend to be charismatic, inspiring leaders, and they're often able to mesmerize their listeners. Hello, I am a podcast host. Boom. ENFJs, they find flow when they're leading someone to help themselves. This could happen in a one-on-one conversation, a small group, a large group. It doesn't really matter, but ENFJs tend to be pretty skilled at coaching and mentoring and speaking. And it's not in a way that is presenting as if this ENFJ has all the answers. It's more like, as an ENFJ, this feels so true. It's more so that I and other ENFJs want to guide whoever they're working with, speaking with, alongside to find the answers within themselves. ENFJs don't want to be the fixer of all the problems. They want to come alongside, teach, and guide. And so the other person can find and fix their own problems. And an ENFJ's power is really realized when they stand at the front of the pack, inspiring whoever's listening, whoever is following, to do their absolute best to dig deep. And the ENFJ is guiding them along the way. Their enthusiastic energy is often pretty contagious. So when an ENFJ pairs their enthusiasm with their vision for the future, which they get as being that mission-driven diplomat, they become unstoppable, right? That's the ENFJ. So that being the case, their best marketing strategy includes speaking with their audience as an expert, but also as a helpful friend. So the important distinction is realizing that ENFJs aren't great. I'm going to say this openly because I am an ENFJ. ENFJs aren't great at speaking to an audience. They show up really natural when they're speaking with their audience, whether it's one person, a few people, or a whole bunch of people. So getting behind a microphone, that's awesome. Anytime you can get behind a microphone, ENFJ, you can probably start doing that if you haven't already. Practice. You probably will be surprised at how naturally it comes to you. And the sticking point for ENFJs, I have found, is ENFJs sometimes struggle with knowing what content they should share and coming up with like a content plan. I have a really great solution for you, ENFJs, and it's in your full report. So if you're feeling like, yes, like this all feels right, I want to speak with my audience, but the content piece, I hear these things about these content calendars. What the heck am I supposed to do with that? I hear you. Oh, do I hear you? And my absolute best advice is in that full report. Here's a little nugget of wisdom. Instead of trying to create content, create conversations. Huge switch up. And that's super key. Okay. More on that in your full report. Now, ENFPs, my fourth personality type here in the Diplomat tribe. I have so many great ENFPs. I have some really great friends who are ENF. I have really great friends in all of these categories. My ENFPs, they tend to be enthusiastic, creative, sociable, free spirits. That is so true. Sociable, free spirits. Oh, man. And they can always find a reason to smile. If you know an ENFP, you are blessed. So ENFPs find flow when they're gathering people together to learn, network, and have fun together. And because of this, ENFPs are skilled at being the host. ENFPs also tend to be teachers, like literal teachers in life. They tend to be really great teachers because just like what I just said, they mend and mold together those three things: learning, networking / like creating community, and having fun. So if you're an ENFP, I want you to think back on a time when you hosted friends or family for a get together. Okay. And consider blending a bit of that feel-good atmosphere into your business and your marketing strategy. Think back on a time like that. Enter into that feeling, that sensation, and consider blending some of that into your marketing strategy. Possible, and you are so good at that. Your power as an ENFP is realized when you step into that matriarch or patriarch role. You're seen as both the gatherer of the people and also their guide and mentor. Seriously, I'm not over exaggerating here. This is truly a superpower. And you know this, no matter what type you are, if you have a matriarch in your family, like that matriarch figure, you know that this is like the power and the value is indisputable. It's so great. So as an ENFP, you might do this so naturally, it doesn't even seem like that could be integrated into your business. That is something I hear a lot. It's like, wait, I mean, yeah, I do that, but is that really? Yes, that is really something that can be a part of your business. And I would argue that I don't want to say the word should, but it would be super cool if you could do that because I know that you can. It can, and it might be the missing link that you've been searching for. So ENFPs, let's think about that. Your best marketing strategy, not surprisingly, will include hosting live events and workshops. And when you do this, you're presenting yourself both as the host and the mentor. Okay. Now, the sticking point here for the ENFP, where they tend to get stuck, is they start creating in their mind when they're told that their best marketing strategy includes hosting like groups of people. They start thinking lots and lots and lots of people. And they kind of get stuck in the overwhelm of like, whoa, like, I don't know if I'm ready for a huge group of people. If that's you, it's okay. And especially if you come from a big family, your mind might just so naturally go to like big event, big grouping of people, big learning experience and networking and fun. And it can be that for sure. And it can start super, super small. So go back to that. Like, what is that sensation? What is that feeling that happens as you host? And how can you just begin to infuse that into your business and your marketing strategy? Okay, so those are our 4 personality types in the Diplomat tribe, a little deeper than what we had gone before. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, we are going to do this with all of the personality types. You'll hear a solo cast like this. You'll hear interviews with specific entrepreneurs about their one personality type that they are. And all the conversations just go wherever they need to. And it's so interesting. So if you are not part of the Diplomat tribe and we didn't get to talk about your type today, no worries. We will. Don't worry about that. We totally will in upcoming episodes. Now, to give you a heads up of what's coming up in the next few weeks, we're going to camp out here and talk not only about our intuitive feelers, diplomats, but the next few weeks are going to really speak to that tribe, but it's also going to speak to all the other tribes too, just like all of these episodes. So next week, our episode is going to be about writing. Okay, so I'm bringing in an expert writer, and we're going to talk about not only her personality type, but also how different personality types approach the act of writing. And writing is such a huge thing when you own a business, right? Like, I know if you're listening to this and you own a business, you're like, yeah, I had no idea there would be so much writing involved. We're going to have a really great conversation about writing and how you, no matter what your personality type is, how you might approach that and how you can be better at approaching it rather than doing it in a way that feels unnatural to you, doing it in a way that is just aligned with your personality type. So writing is next week. Then the following 2 weeks, I get to sit down and do a really great interview with an INFP. And then the following week, I get to do an interview with an ENFP. So I get to take these 2 personality types that are super similar and yet so starkly different. And we get to really great in-depth interviews into those 2 types. So that's what's coming up over the next few weeks. And until then, I hope you have a great, feel good couple of days. Talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Now it's time to connect your marketing strategy to your personality type. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to download your marketing personality type full report. Use the code MPP at checkout to get $10 off. And that's a super special code for podcast listeners as a way to say thank you for being here. In your full report, you'll learn about your personality type, how it relates to the work you do, what your best marketing strategy includes so you can start implementing it right away, what your worst marketing strategy includes so you can avoid it, and so much more. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to get your full report and use the code MPP at checkout to receive $10 off your purchase. And one more thing before you skip on to the next podcast. Would you please share this episode with your entrepreneur friends who also need to feel good about their marketing strategies? Take a quick screenshot of your podcast app right now and share it out via text, Facebook, or my favorite, Instagram. Remember to tag me at Marketing Personalities in the photo so I can be sure to send you a huge high five and thank you for sharing the love. This podcast is edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, and you can find them at podcastengineers.com. That's all for now. Thanks as always for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Love ya. Bye.